Hey Kev, let's follow this trail over here. This looks like there might be something waiting down there.
All right. Hey, wait a minute. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I thought it was just me. What the heck is that?
I don't know what that is. Whoa, do you smell that too?
That's unbelievable. Hey, look.
What the?
Hey, look, those branches are moving over there.
What the heck is that?
Holy cow, is that what I think it is? Look at that thing.
Oh my God.
It's a freaking Sasquatch. Welcome to the Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters podcast. My name is W.J. Sheehan, and I am the author of a series of books entitled Bigfoot Terror in the Woods Sightings and Encounters. 12 initial volumes and 7 regional books that I just finished comprising. The regional books are made out of all previous accounts, organized by regions, 7 separate regions. Almost all the books are in Audible. Just a couple left that we got to finalize, but a bunch of them are in audiobook as well. So folks, go out, buy a book, buy an audiobook, give one to your mother-in-law as a gift, and you'll be doing me a great service. And now, may I introduce you to my co-host and brother, KJ Sheehan. Kev, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just don't tell your mother-in-law that she looks like a Bigfoot. Unless she does. You could do the side-by-side with the patty film image.
Yeah, be nice to your mother-in-law, especially if she's a good cook.
Yeah, I'm doing all right, Bill. I'm a little tired. This week's been a grind.
Yeah, you know what, Kev? The winter kind of beats on me a little bit more.
Yeah.
I just kind of, I'm lacking a little enthusiasm when it's cold every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the days are getting longer, but I'm with you. It does wear you out a little bit more.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me that, because I kind of forget that once in a while, but I like to hang on to that gaining a minute every day.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it does make you feel good. But sometimes
I went riding my bike tonight after work, not that far, but out on the river trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I did get to my car with it. I drive down there with the bike in the back. And when I got to my car after riding, it was pretty dark.
What do you have? Do you have a bike with like a mountain bike kind of configuration? Or?
Yeah, I have a mountain bike that I mostly ride on paved greenway, though.
Right. Now,
it's a little more upright.
One of my coworkers, she's a real cyclist, and you know what she has?
What's that?
She says it's a fat bike.
Fat,
like a fat.
Oh, with the big fat tires on it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of bikes that call themselves fat bikes now, but this is actually a brand, Fat.
Oh, okay.
And these things go for like, $2,500 or something.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. I know people have them, and they ride them on the beach in the sand.
Yes. And she said, and she's an avid cyclist, so she says these are like a good, really good all-around bike for like us riding in the Pine Barrens or taking it out on the road for a ride. I mean, and that's coming from somebody who's in a cycling club.
Yeah, I've ridden them. They're super comfy. The only thing that could get you frustrated is if you're going long distances on them, they have a lot of drag.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Big tires, you're not going to be doing 18 or 19 miles an hour on them.
I guess not, but hers is also all carbon fiber.
Well, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, so she went.
That's probably more than 2,500.
Yeah, she went like 45 on hers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's somebody who cycling is a really big deal to them, so they go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of nice bikes, but like my mountain bike is steel. Or aluminum. It's not carbon. It's
right,
metal.
Right. Did you say you stole it?
Exactly,
yes.
It was good to get out there. That's the first time I've been on the bike, and it was warmer here today for us, but it's still damp, and it was freezing. I had my bike helmet on, but I didn't have a hat on under the bike helmet, and it's got the slots in it. And when you're moving through the air, man, my head was cold.
Yeah, it's chilly, and we're really hairy guys, so if you're cold in the head, it's cold.
I need some coverage.
We need one of them old bombardier skull caps.
I need something thin that'll still fit under the helmet. I can't wear like a woolen hat.
No, oh, that's right, because you're wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Do you really feel you need that, or are you just doing it to obey the law of the land?
Oh, no, there's no law. I'm on the back trail, but I wear it because like 95% of the bad injuries could be prevented if you had a helmet on.
No kidding.
Yeah, on a bike.
Wow. All right. Well,
and I have fallen off a couple of times where it wasn't like user error. Like one time, believe it or not, one of the cranks fell off of my bike.
Oh. Yeah, and all of a sudden you're stepping down and whoa, boom.
Yeah, you hit the ground it was my left foot, and the crank like fell off. So you fall off of the bike to the left side.
Yeah.
And I didn't get hurt, but if you hit your head on a tree or something, man, you're dead.
Yeah, it could have turned bad real quick. I can see that happening.
That's an example of you just don't know what's going to happen.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. Folks, this is Bigfoot Terror in the Woods, but my brother and I usually BS a little bit. My old neighbor, Cliffy, who died from COVID in Colombia, he got a book from a certain chopper operation that used to have a TV show, if you catch my drift.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
So he was riding this modified Harley Davidson that came from this company. I'm not even sure if it was a Harley. It was a big twin, though, big bike. And he's riding down the street one day, and one of the sides of the handlebar cracks off.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he's riding this big bike, 1,200 cc's, 1,300, and now he's steering it with one hand. Well, you know what happened, what caused it? These guys had bored a huge hole in the elbow of the handlebar to hide cables in.
Yeah.
Of course, not thinking of the stresses and the weakness that it had, and Cliffy doesn't know how to change a spark plug. He's not thinking about it until it broke off.
No, it's so funny you say that, Bill, because I used to watch that show all the time, and, I'm a mechanical engineer, folks. So I'd be looking at where they were cutting holes and stuff and saying to myself, and, knowing the thing was however many horsepower, they put those big bored-out V-twins on there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And so the bike probably weighs 800 pounds, some of them, and they're, like, boring stuff out, and I'm like... And sometimes it felt like, I know it wasn't that way, but it felt like they weren't even tightening everything up.
Yeah, well, I remember going in houses, working construction, and you'd uncover where some plumber or HVAC guy just took a huge freaking boring tool to run a line through a ceiling right through a bunch of joists.
Oh, yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, just completely weakening everything, the whole structure, and just covering it up with sheetrock or something, you know?
You bring up a great point. We were talking about bikes and what can go wrong, and this is a good public service announcement, about why you need a helmet. One, two, also the helmets now are, like, so comfortable. You don't even know you have it on, and they're not super expensive. But the other thing that breaks is, some of these bikes, like you were talking about your friend has, that are carbon, or hybrid carbon bikes, which a lot of them are. This stuff just breaks. It's not bad, but it doesn't fatigue in the same way metal does. Once it gets compromised a little bit, like say you drop your bike or something like that, you could put like a hairline crack in the carbon, where you're not going to put a hairline crack in aluminum or steel.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? And then you don't know there's a hairline crack, and then it could last another 2 years, but sometime where you're like leaning on it, all of a sudden, the seat post breaks off or the handlebar breaks off. And when that happens, man, you're in a world of hurt.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Well, let's move on, man. Yeah. We can BS all night. What do you have in your cryptids in the news and other oddities segment?
Yeah, man, we're going to go to other oddities, and this one I had in the hopper, and then we got an email from our illustrative field reporter Rick up in Ohio, suggesting one of these, which is the Barden booger.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, I got that one lined up. Let's do the Barden booger.
And by the way, Rick sent me a picture before. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame today.
Oh,
and he was standing in front of an illuminated Led Zeppelin pinball machine.
Ooh.
And I couldn't forward the picture to you, Kev. It wasn't forwardable. I was going to, but there was no... Like, I couldn't do anything with it. It was just there. I don't know why.
Yeah, if you want to get me one of those, Bill, like if the fat bike is a little too pricey, maybe you could get me that illuminated Led Zeppelin pinball machine.
Yeah, I bet you dropped 10 G's on that machine.
You got to go out picking for it,
Yeah.
in the basements of old Bethpage.
Well, just remember, speaking of picking, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't wipe your friends on the couch.
All right, well, back to the Barden booger. So the boogers, right, are like a Bigfoot-like creature, typically in the South, where, they came up with this terminology, booger.
Right.
And this particular booger is named after the town of Barden, Bardin, and it's in Putnam County, Florida.
Okay.
And Barden and Putnam County are south of Jacksonville. So Jacksonville's up in the northeast corner of Florida. Mm-hmm. So down south of that, and then just west of the St. Johns River. And the St. Johns River runs right through Jacksonville.
Okay.
And get this, it was named after a guy named Hazard Barden in the 1900s. That's what the town was named after. And he was the first resident, and I include this because it's kind of interesting, and he operated a turpentine distillery business.
Interesting, huh? Turpentine.
Turpentine, isn't that something?
He was probably a cover for a moonshining racket.
Maybe. Hey, have a little turpentine. Tastes the same.
Well, you have to have a still to do the turpentine. So he had a good cover. If somebody came in, he says, well, I'm in the turpentine business. Of course I have a still.
Yeah, and we know, Bill, we've reviewed the videos of these boogers and skunk apes, and this is kind of we think it's a skunk ape in northern Florida, and generally the northern Florida skunk apes are a lot smaller than the ones down like near the Everglades in southern Florida. So they're like 5 or 6 feet tall versus 7 or 8 feet tall.
That's interesting, huh?
Yeah,
it's like two different breeds.
Well, and some people say that the ones in the north have 4 toes, and the ones in the south have 5 toes.
Huh?
Yeah, and they actually have casts of them. Now, I don't know,
Yeah.
And, sounds like a little bit of a stretch, but okay.
Yeah, who are we to challenge it,
Right. And I did watch a video of one, and it was out in a field, like with kind of scrub oaks around it and tall grass, like 3 or 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
But it was from 2000, the video, but it looked like it could have been somebody in a suit, and it wasn't in a place where you wouldn't walk.
Okay.
Like we've talked about before, I love the videos of the skunk apes that are in the swamp.
Yeah.
Up to their waist in the swamp with all of the water moccasins and alligators and everything else, where nobody with half a brain would go in there and wade around.
Well, you wouldn't think.
No.
I'm buying that with you. We've talked about this before. I think anybody that's willing to get into that murky slop and risk a life-threatening injury is either really stupid or we're looking at something legitimate,
Yeah, I don't even think you could be stupid enough to do that,
Yeah, I know, but there are weird characters out there,
Even the swampers and stuff only go in there with those high boots on, just to protect them from snake bites, not to protect them from the water.
Now listen, I had that account I named a snake collector from down there in Louisiana. And you remember those guys, if you do, they had met on a drag racing circuit. And the guy from Louisiana told his other mechanic buddy from another team that in the off season he collects venomous snakes to sell them. And I guess they're making anti-venom or something.
Yeah, they do that.
And this guy
Believe
said,
it or not, they milk the fangs
yeah,
to get the venom out, and then they make an anti-venom from the venom.
yeah, but remember, this dude was saying this guy was grabbing these things by hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
And a lot of those guys and gals, too, they get bitten so much that they actually build up a resistance to the venom.
yeah, well, that's what that dude had said.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of course,
but-
you have to almost die a few times.
yeah, that's the thing. You don't just have resistance without coming near death.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. And of
Yeah.
course, do we think that's the same? I always wondered that about Bigfoot. Or you talk about the swamp ape in Barden. These things, Kev, I mean, like even in your neck of the woods with the rattlers up in the woods and stuff, I can't think that deer and other animals and even Bigfoot are not getting snapped by these things periodically. How do they survive?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure some of them die, but we have more here. We do have the rattlers, but like what I see on a regular basis, unfortunately, not this time of the year, but is the copperheads.
Yeah.
And they're aggressive. Like the rattlers rattle to scare you away, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
The copperheads don't make any noise, and they will come toward you.
Wow.
And they love to come out at night. So, I'm a barefoot, crazy person, and I really got to remind myself if I walk out to put something in the garbage or whatever to put some shoes on,
Wow.
because they'll bite you on the toe. And,
Oh my God. I don't even want to think about it, man.
I don't want to think about it either. But
That stuff is just nasty. But I often wondered about the Bigfoot, just stomping around in the woods. They've got to get hit by snakes.
yeah, I think so.
I would think they get struck, or they're chasing something in a field or just stomping
I mean,
around.
some of those Bigfoots, maybe they're carrying like a 357 with snake shot in it. They see one, they just pull it out and blast them with some salt.
Well, so tell me more about this.
Yeah, so this Barden booger first started showing up in the 1940s.
Okay.
And in one simple account that was in the Florida Times-Union newspaper, a woman was riding her horse through the woods of Barden in the summer of 1947 when she thought she saw a very tall man with a long raincoat on. But when she got closer and looked more closely, she was shocked to learn the coat was actually fur, and the man was anything but a man.
Wow.
And they say that many of the 424 residents of Barden, so big town there, Bill, 424 people,
Yep.
claim to have seen the creature at one point or another.
There you go. I mean, you're going to argue with everybody?
Yeah.
And
there's a couple more observations about the critter that are kind of interesting and kind of funny. So one of the sightings said that the creature gave off a scent that was so foul that when a man raised his gun to try to shoot it, he couldn't fire accurately.
Wow.
That's a stank.
It's like it was taking them over.
Exactly.
I can't even stand my ground.
My eyes are tearing.
Oh, that's some serious stank.
Yeah. And then it's interesting. This part's the interesting one is that one of the most consistent details of these observations is that, believe it or not, Bill, they say the booger is often reported carrying a lantern.
That's freaking strange.
Yeah. Now, this woman, Marie Dumont, who's the founder of the Mid-Florida Bigfoot Research Group, tried to explain it this way, that she says, as a Bigfoot researcher, that's a pretty common thing, she says. Whether it's truly a creature that walks around with a lantern, that's highly unlikely. But it could be that people are seeing a Bigfoot or a skunk ape, and they're seeing a light moving through the woods. So like maybe there's some kind of light associated with it, but not actually carrying a lantern.
Yeah, I was just going to add that there's a fair amount of reports of Bigfoot and orbs.
Yep.
So it's possible that an orb, whatever it may be, is associated with it and tagging along or part of it, which always brings me back to the supernatural aspect of some of these things.
100%, yeah.
You know, because you or I don't walk around anywhere with an orb hanging around next to us.
Only if I'm decorating the Christmas tree.
You know, there's nothing else out in the woods alive that has an orb floating around over its head or circling it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. A lantern. And again, what do you think if you see something? You associate it with what you know, not with what you don't know.
Right.
So a woman, a man is saying, wow, what's that, some guy walking through the woods with a lantern?
Yeah, or, I mean, I'm going out on a limb here a little bit, but maybe they did see a Bigfoot or a swamp ape. And then also, in addition to, you know, not in the same exact sighting, but they're seeing some kind of light in the woods. You know, whether it's a reflection or whatever else.
Yeah.
So then it's like, wait a minute, that swamp ape is carrying a lantern, you know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Not be a direct association.
You walk around the woods quite a bit.
I do.
Other than knowing that there is a house or a building somewhere on the other side of where you are, have you ever seen a light in the woods?
I've seen like a reflection. Like a lot of the places I walk around here are adjacent to a lake and lakes.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll see a reflection off of the lake.
Okay.
You know, because the lake is really flat, right?
Yeah.
Typically, especially at night compared to the ocean and that, unless it's a windy night, which is rare. And I've seen a reflection and been like, what the heck is that? You know, because sometimes you don't know the water is back that way.
Right.
You know, in a particular direction. You're like, what the heck? You know.
Yeah, I guess you could see like a moonlight reflection off of something.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
But again, you know, there's a lot of unusual things that go on out there, but at least people are looking and they're observing.
Oh, yeah. They're not looking at their phone. You know,
Right.
It's good
And they're calling out and describing what they see. Now, what it is, we don't really know.
Right.
But they're reporting on, I saw a Bigfoot or this guy with a coat that wasn't a guy in a coat carrying a lantern.
Yeah.
So it's unusual. You know what? I got to stand with people who even have the guts to just come forward and say something. I know a lot of people get a nitpick, you know, and we know that. I know that. My skin is like leather. It's so thick. I mean, I got people laughing at me, you know, talking about the subject matter I do, but I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, because I find it interesting, and it's in the talking that we find out more.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who caught me on the side, away from the rest, and commented on a ghost, a poltergeist, a UFO, or something.
Yeah.
But they want to know, they don't mind telling me, but even when they're with me, they're kind of low-spoken. It's almost like they're hiding even though they're away from other people.
Right.
So it's all of this phenomena is very strange, and everybody handles it differently. But most people really don't want to open their mouth. Right. So it's unfortunate, you know.
Yeah. Hey, like we say, Bill, if you see something, say something.
That's
Let
right.
us know.
That's right. Wow, is that it, Kev?
That's it.
Okay, I got some interesting things here. Now, I was uncertain if I shared this one before, but it's so interesting that I will. And if I did before, well, here we go again. Now, this story kind of really gave me the creeps. And that's exactly what Howard Driscoll said of it relative to his findings in Western Oregon. Now, this is what Howard had to say about what happened to him and his hiking partner in August of 2020. So we're talking slightly over, about 4 years ago, Kev? Now, it was the third week of August in 2020, he said to me, that my friend Riley and I went for a hike in some local forest. It was and still is a common practice for the two of us to kill a day hiking. So this began as just another day for us. That is to say, until we saw, heard, and found what we did. This particular trail was one that we had hiked at various distances, probably at least several times in the past, and we knew the area very well enough for both of us to carry sidearms. It's a good piece of advice for anyone hiking to carry a weapon. And on this day, this type of preparedness proved itself out once again. By 11:30, we had stopped for a break, having already covered several miles of up and down terrain, to eat a sandwich and have a drink. Now, at 47, I was in top condition, and Riley was certainly my equal. So we were in no way suffering from fatigue. It was more or less our routine to stop periodically and listen to the woods. This is when we heard the first rock clacking noise. As a hiker/woodsman, we are used to the sounds of silence, as we call them, that the woods are capable of producing, with rocks cracking together not being one of them. There was no need to ask each other if we had heard the sound. Rather, we both stood up, grabbed our packs, and started to move towards where it had emanated from. Our thoughts were that it had come from a hunter, so we shouted in the hope of getting a response instead of a bullet being mistaken for something in the woods other than a human being. Nothing responded, so we walked a little further and shouted again, and still nothing. We weren't being quiet, so anything or anyone would be able to hear us as we now hiked about another 200 yards, which is when we found the dog. Smack dab in the middle of the trail was a mutt, dead as a doornail, and half starved from the looks of it, with its neck twisted up like a wet towel. Riley started to shake violently, followed by saying that he had just gotten the chills, and I couldn't blame him. As for me, I had gotten a little something more than the chills, as a feeling of extreme fear took hold of me. Now, Riley and I have been together for so long that no matter who says what first, it is generally what the other is thinking. So Riley says to me, "What kind of satanic bastard would treat a dog this way?" It was exactly what I was thinking. The animal was damn near starved to death, appearing to have been brought into the woods where somebody had pinned it down and twisted its neck around numerous times for good measure. It was nasty to see, Bill. The two of us are now thinking that there is at least one, if not two, madmen in the woods, clacking rocks as a kind of signal that intruders had arrived. Both of us drew our guns and sat still for about 10 minutes, hoping to get an indicator as to who or what was around us. As we sat there in silence, looking at each other and now into the woods, Suddenly we heard something really big go tearing through the trees, and then it stopped. It sounded heavy and was in no way trying to be quiet about its movements. I had heard animals do this before they engaged in a full-on fight, but there was no noise in the form of grunts or snorts, nothing indicative of some type of animal which either of us knew, and certainly nothing that heavy-footed. That's when the scream sounded. It was something like a cougar and a bear all wound into one, and very loud, lasting about 15 seconds, and then total silence. I signaled Riley with my thumb that we should beat it out of there, and we started to backtrack. As we started to move, whatever this was started to run towards us, crashing through the trees and snapping branches. We stood our ground with guns drawn and prepared to shoot as all of the commotion stopped. I realized I had been holding my breath and took a deep sigh, signaling Riley to keep moving, which we did. We now ran past the area where the dog was lying dead, and it was gone. But we weren't going to stop and look around. We both knew the spot, and it was most definitely not lying there anymore. We started to trot, and whatever was in the trees started to run with us. I don't think it was more than 100 feet away, running parallel with us. The difference being we were on a trail, and whatever it was pacing us through the dense brush. We had to have run at a trot for at least a mile, when suddenly we heard it no more, as we slowed the pace to catch our wind. Once Riley spoke, saying that it was a Bigfoot, which was exactly what I was thinking. Now, back at the truck, we were in total agreement that nothing could have produced that sound that is known in these parts to either of us. That, coupled with the way it was able to run through the trees and the distinctive sound of its weight. I can't even wrap my mind around how it could produce such a noise. It sounded like a metal tamper that's used to compact soil when you're laying a brick driveway. Boom, boom, boom it went, repeating again and again and again in a deliberate manner. Now some would say, what kind of encounter was that? There's no proof. So you found a dead dog and heard some loud noises. So what? All I can say is this. When you know something in your heart of hearts, you own it. I am convinced that all of this was the work of a Bigfoot that day. In my mind, it killed this stray, and for whatever reason had dropped it or left it hearing us coming, but wasn't about to leave it there. It's only a theory, of course, with anything being possible. Anyway, Bill, that's what we experienced that day on the hike. Believe it or not. What do you think of that, Kev?
That's awesome, Bill. I believe it.
You know, and it's funny. Not funny, ha-ha, but odd. I took a report from a guy a couple of months ago. He and a group of his buddies were driving in a small pickup truck, two of them in the cab and the other two in the bed. And I think I talked about this a little bit. He was coming around the side of, let's call it a small mountain in, I believe it was Washington. And a Bigfoot came down the slope of this hill, went across the street, and down like a steep ravine side to the other side. Or vice versa. It came across and then went up.
Okay.
to their left. The two guys in the front seat saw it and looked at each other like, did you just see what I saw? Well, this dude was carrying a rifle in the back of his pickup truck behind the seat. He went up to where they saw it go in. The other guy stayed in the truck, and he went in trying to track it with the rifle. Now, I wouldn't have done that myself, but this is what he did. He thought he saw something under the arm of the Bigfoot when it crossed the street. When he got up the trail about 100 yards, as he told me, he found a dead fawn on the trail, just like this dog, and thought to himself, well, that must have been what I saw under the arm, but why did it drop it? He went to a museum out there, a Bigfoot museum, to report what he had seen. And somebody from the BFRO, as he told me, a woman, came back with them to the site and did a look around. And she found a print or a couple of prints and some snapped branches. Said she was going to write up a report on it that would be posted somewhere and he could read it, but he never got a hold of it.
Okay.
And he reported it to me. So if you believe that and you believe the dead dog story, his two instances where something was left behind.
Sure.
And why? I don't know. Why would you kill something and then drop it and leave it? But I have no answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, unless it was threatened in some way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
dodge and hide.
Yeah, maybe you thought better than to carry something around. I'm going to go solo in case I need to move. Whatever.
Because you're less stealthy, right? If you're carrying some smelly animal too, you know.
Yeah, or some smelly human.
True.
You know, too. If you got a 200-pound human under your arm, you know, let me put this.
Just put him down. We'll come back for him. Nobody's going to want that.
I'll kill somebody else later.
Yeah. We'll go get him. Well, that's a great account, Bill. Though I like it.
Interesting, huh?
Very vivid, and definitely got some proof on with that thing charging out.
Yeah. Do you want to go with another one, or you want to go into a mail?
I think we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, that's a good account,
We'll
man.
save one for the next time because we got some good listener mail.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's do it up, man.
All right, let's go here. Let me get re-situated.
Let me get situated, honey.
All right. Deborah writes in, and she says, "Hi, WJ and KJ. I love your podcast, your banter, and your love of the Lord. Absolutely 100% my favorite. I don't know where I've been the last 5 years, but I'm glad I found you. I'm almost caught up on all the episodes. I enjoy them I enjoy them all, but you're not going to find me in the woods, so I won't need to I won't need to know. What do you think of that, Kev?"
Sounds like she's challenging you, bro.
She is. It's a little throwdown.
Yeah, maybe she's gonna punch you with a freaking knuckle sandwich, bub.
Well, I'm gonna hide in the woods, Deborah.
You better watch it. Debbie could be some tough broad out there ready to pull out a set of nunchucks and work you over.
Yeah, well, if she's looking for me, I'll be in the woods. And she says, "Congratulations and kudos on all your hard work. Sleep tight."
I think that was a little rub on me.
Yeah, well, it's well done, Deborah. I liked it. Good stuff.
Yeah, really good.
All right, and David writes in. And David doesn't say where he's from either. And the subject, Bill, is El Kabong.
I love El Kabong.
He says, "Great work, you guys. As always, love the show. Do either of you remember an episode where El Kabong meets Captain Caveman? Hope you guys are staying dry. And W, congrats on your new friend." I remember, now I don't remember El Kabong that much, but I do remember Captain Caveman.
You do?
Yeah, because he had that bat also, right? The Caveman Club, and he'd say, like, "Captain Caveman," and boom. if I'm remembering it correctly.
You must be, because I don't remember that one at all, but I do know El Kabong.
So then you don't remember when El Kabong met Captain Caveman. I don't either.
I do not.
All right. Well, David, you stumped us there. We're going to have to look for it on YouTube.
But I am visualizing a cartoon caveman like Barney Rubble with a big wooden club in his hand or something.
Yeah, he's like if I remember him correctly, he's like this brown furry mound carrying a club with like bare arms hanging out and like bare shins and feet hanging out of this blob of hair.
Folks, I have to do this while Kev's talking. I just have to, Kev.
All right.
I'm looking up right now. I'm looking up Captain
Caveman.
I gotta. I just have to. I never do this.
It's all good.
Captain Caveman. Oh, here we go. Oh my God.
Am I right?
You are absolutely right, Kev.
Yeah. So I remember that.
Captain Caveman. Oh, come on. Don't block me out here. Oh my. Oh my. Is a Hanna-Barbera character.
Yes.
Okay, so he kind of looks like an egg-shaped Bigfoot.
Yes.
With super large feet. He's got like a cape on. And he's got this freaking club in his hand.
Well, he's got a cape on because he is a captain.
Captain Cape. Good stuff. Who was that email from?
Oh, I've already moved on. That was from David.
All right, listen, David. Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, segments of Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics. He was based loosely on that of Rock Slag and Gravel Slag from Wacky Races.
Oh, I remember the Wacky Races, too.
Okay, so he was in like a couple of things, including Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics.
All right, man. All right. Well, we're moving on. We got one more here. From Richard. And this is a follow-up on our Lake of the Woods episode.
Oh, yeah.
He says, hello, Sheehan brothers.
Uh-huh.
I just heard your episode about the Bigfoot experience near Kenora, Ontario.
Yes.
At the Lake of the Woods area. I'm from Indiana, but my family has been going to the Lake of the Woods area since the mid-1970s to fish.
Mm-hmm.
It is a world-class fishing and extremely remote.
Yes.
We would see bears and moose, but never the big guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly understand why Bigfoot would be in that area. And he says the Monster Quest episode of the cabin in the woods that was attacked is also near that general area as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so there are definitely reports that have merit. The only experience I had was one evening fishing. There were loud splashes, like someone throwing rocks at us. The only thing is, there's no way anyone would have been in that area. The mosquitoes and ruggedness would make it unbearable during that time of the evening.
Uh-huh.
I discounted the experience at the time as a beaver slapping its tail. It happened several times, and I'm not sure how often beavers slap their tails to warn of danger.
Mm-hmm.
I never had the feeling that I was being watched during this time, but I have definitely spent time up there. We even went with my dad, who is in his mid-80s, and my brothers this past summer. I was excited to hear the story and happy to know they're in that area.
Now, that Monster Quest episode, as I recall, was that the one where the cabin had been ransacked? They went back to investigate it. Everything had been, like, torn apart inside of it, and they placed a nail board by the front door, hoping that something would come back and step on it.
Ooh, that would be upsetting.
Yeah, but they did. According to the show, I think it was that show, they had come back and something had impaled itself on the board.
Oh, my God.
Like half of a foot with blood on the nails, and obviously had taken a bad step on this thing. So I don't know. You know, I remember seeing the inside of this cabin, if it's the same one, And this thing was trashed. Now, could it have been a bear? Certainly, bears trash out cabins and buildings. And somebody told me they even like the smell of the insulation in a refrigerator. It reminds them of ants or something. I forget what I heard.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and, but, I don't know, man. Kenora. Yeah, that's the Kenora monster.
Good email, folks. Thanks for writing in, and thanks for listening. Good episode, Bill.
Yeah. And Kev, how can the people get in touch with us, Kev?
They can go to the website, BigfootTerryInTheWoods.com, and click on the link Contact Us, and we look at all of those emails that come in. And while you're thinking about us, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. And if you want to write us a nice little happy review on that same podcast player, we like that too.
Yeah, and same thing with the books, folks. You buy one of my books, audio books, leave me a good review.
Yeah. Take a couple of minutes. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, a lot of time and effort goes into these things. I just spent the entire year putting this regional series together, and I'm still not done. Couple of audio books left to put together, but a lot of time and effort, my friends. So, we don't charge you for anything here. We're not selling anything, but of course, I do have my books, which is how I got into this work. So show a little support and go out and buy a book or two. Give them as a gift. They're cool, man. They're definitely cool.
Good deal.
Well, Kev, if you should find yourself in Florida, in the Glades, in the woods, or Kenora, up in Canada, you best remember one thing, my friends. Always carry more gun than you think you're gonna need. Sleep tight.